어쩌면 좋을까? 저기 휴대.
Hello guys, I am back and I apologize it has been so long since I last checked in with you. It has been extremely busy with work and school, but here I am back and ready to crank out some meaningful content. I wanted to sort of take 1 minute to show you some of the more relaxing parts of my life. I am very conscious that most of my channel includes a lot of productivity footage of me working and studying, but I also want to show that I do live my life in balance. There are moments when I also enjoy myself on the weekend, go out to eat with mask on, of course, but really, I think it's really important to live your life in balance. So I don't want to put out content that promotes people or encourages people to just like overwork 24/7, because I don't think that's healthy or good for your long-term well-being. Academics is something that is very important to me. It has been important to me for as long as I can remember. I've always cared a lot about school, but school has never come easy for me. People sometimes assume that because I study really hard, I can retain information super easily and I can spit out facts, but that is not true. I am very slow at learning, and it took me forever to establish good study habits and feel really confident in my field. A little bit about me. So in high school, I think my strength was more in the arts. So I did a lot of cello practice. My education was mostly focused on music, and that was also what my parents did. So growing up, I had sort of this artistic mindset, I had a really fuzzy brain, as people would often say here at school, and it's something that I'm proud of. But when I decided to go to college to study a STEM subject, which is mechanical engineering, I realized while some of these frameworks do apply, there was a lot of new content I needed to catch up on. So what I'm going to do is provide a little bit of academic advice and realizations I've had over the past 4 years in undergrad, and talk about some of the key takeaways. So the way I'm going to structure this conversation is I'll start off with my personal experience, followed by two very broad categories of perception and processing. So within perception and processing, I purposefully left it very broad and very abstract because I'm not an education expert. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. You know your own learning style best, but this is what helped me transition from a more arts-intensive training to a STEM-focused education. So I'm going to be looking back and forth between my laptop screen and the phone camera, but so college. During college, I started off as a very shy and introverted person. So during lectures, I always sat in the corner. I didn't really socialize with people in my freshman year. To me, it was all about getting caught up and feeling as confident as possible, which is something that I super regret. For me, I think when I'm not comfortable, my anxiety kind of rules over me. I was so scared of appearing like I knew nothing that I never reached out for help. And that is something that you should not do. If you do not understand anything, you should go ask for help. It's better to look like you don't know what's going on early on in the course instead of when it's too late and then you have to spend like 1 week pulling all-nighters to get caught up, you know? So yeah, anyway, that was sort of my story. So coming into freshman year, I was super insecure, I'm really lost, and I was working my butt off. Like I was studying all the time, didn't really go to any parties and such. So for sophomore to senior year, I started to explore some different courses. I was considering a number of different subjects. I was interested in like biology, I was interested in physics, in computer science, and mechanical engineering. And I was like, how do I pick? I don't know what I want to do. I took a lot of really hard classes to see which one I would enjoy most, which is really challenging. I feel like I grew a lot mentally, but I definitely don't think that's the only way to get to know a subject. Like you can definitely go to career nights, like interview people, talk to people about things. I think taking the classes only shows you one facet of a profession. So classes aren't everything, is what I'm saying. Roll forward to senior year, and that's when I think I really started to academically bloom, which is honestly pretty late compared to other students, but that's when I felt most comfortable in my classes. Like I was comfortable asking questions, I was engaged in every lecture. I think that's when I really learned to love my major too. Before, I had mixed feelings. I was like, I hate it sometimes, I love it sometimes, like why am I pulling so many all-nighters? I think by senior year, I really learned to appreciate all the hard work I put in, and that's when a lot of different core classes also started tying together. Like my dynamics courses, my kinematics courses, my fluids courses, they all sort of tied together and built into my upper div classes. So I would say senior year for me was my peak. So this is why I keep saying I'm a slow learner, is it took a long time for me to peak, and it took a lot of realizations, self-discoveries, and also confidence building for me to get there. So these are some of the skills it took for me to start becoming a better student. So first, perception. I'm talking about collecting and organizing information, and to me that's one of the most important parts of getting to know a subject and getting really good at it. Lectures to me are the most important. Some lectures are obviously better than others. Some professors will be more engaging, spend more time curating their content and presenting it to you, but there's a lot of work that you can do also to make processing information easier. In order to get a good grade, it's like piecing together a puzzle. If you miss a lecture, to me that's like you're taking away your puzzle pieces, you're hiding them and you're throwing them in the trash. So assume that you miss 5 lectures and you have like 20 lectures throughout the quarter. That's like literally 1/4 of your puzzle missing. So to me, lectures are most critical because the professors are the ones who write the exam, who know the material, who are literally rating the content for you. So don't miss those freebies. Second is taking notes. I'm a big hand note taker. These classes where it's like conceptual material and there's a lot of figures and diagrams, I think nothing's better than pen and paper. For me, I can't really store information in my mind for super long, especially if it's new information. So I always have to write everything down. Third is to prepare for lecture if possible. I always say like at the beginning of the quarter, like I'm gonna read my textbook in advance of the class. I'm gonna be super prepared. But I know when things get busy, this gets super impossible. Before the next lecture, take 10 minutes to review your notes and catch up on what the professor said last time, because sometimes some of my classes are designed so that the concepts build on each other. So like one example I'll give is my heat transfer class. This was my senior year class. So like during one lecture, we learned about like steady state heat conduction, 1-dimensional. And when we moved on into 2 dimensions, we would have to make additional assumptions that either conflicted or built upon the previous class's assumptions. And if you don't review the notes, it gets super confusing. And I think like honestly preparing for each class makes studying for the final exam easier too. Professors do that too before each lecture. And that's also how they design the final exam, is they review the material and they rewrite it and reorganize it. So I think if you build up the habit of reviewing your lecture notes right after the lecture and also before the next lecture, so twice total, it will really set you up for success. It's done with my perception talk. Now I'm going to talk about processing. So processing is a more intimate part, I think, of academics, is how you organize and repurpose the information that you gathered into stuff that you can really digest and use. So I have, again, 3 suggestions for processing information. The first would be review notes post-lecture. A second is to reorganize and repurpose your information. So I'm a really interactive learner, so for me, moving things around and making new diagrams, making new flashcards, those are super, super helpful for me. So when I go through the process of re-explaining my homework assignment, rewriting it, or like even making a little PowerPoint for myself to explain the main concepts and takeaways, it really helps me digest the information a lot easier. And finally would be to also understand what kind of a learner you are. So it took me so long to realize that I was an interactive learner. I used to think that I learned most by reading and taking notes, but that is not how I learn. I have to try to do it myself first. If the professor explains something on the board, it like goes through one ear and out the other. Like I will not understand that on the final exam. So by senior year, I realized that I need to always start the homework like day 1 when it is released, and then write down whatever I don't know, go to office hours to walk through my strategy with my teaching assistants, and then I'm gonna go home and try to finish the homework as soon as possible. And then I circle the questions I don't know and go back to office hours yet again, and I go back home, try again. It's a very iterative process. And by the time I'm finally done with my homework, I try to redo all the problems, write them really neatly, and then I turn it in. So honestly, through each homework, even though I only turn in 1 assignment, I'd say I probably iterate and attempt the problems at least like 5 or 6 times. It really helps me internalize what the problem is looking for, the key concepts, I also start to anticipate what the professor might change or design for the final exam. Is like I kind of retest myself, like, okay, well, we use this theorem, how can that be applied in a different way? And I think that really helps you build confidence with the material. Being vulnerable with your peers. Like, if you don't understand something, it's okay. You can let your professors and TAs know that, and if they're at least half a decent human being, they will help you get that next step. And I have had professors who are really rude to me, who are like, why do you not understand this? But I think it's better to have someone tell you that earlier in the course than, again, waiting until it's too late and having a lot of stress and anxiety build up at the end of your course. Those are my suggestions for academics. I know a lot of my viewers are very hardworking students that want to do well, and I do believe that you can do well. I just wanted to share some of the tips that I've learned throughout the years, and I hope everyone is taking care. I will try to put out content more frequently now that I've sort of found my pace again, now that things are kind of cooling down and not as hectic. And there's also some music projects in the works that I will release to you very, very soon. So I will keep in touch and continue to take care of yourselves. And good luck on midterms and finals. I will see you soon.